let's build a hexacopter. And what I've decided to do is use a Tarot FY690S frame, which is also listed as part number Ironman 680 TL68C01. This is just the box in which it came. It's empty. I've taken out all the parts, and it seems that some of the parts have come almost, let's say, sub-assembled. There's like the little center plate, and parts of the legs have already some of the screws in. So I am going to try and follow the instructions which came in this box, but it's one page and it's tiny, and you need to try and make sense of this. There's no real instructions as is. The parts that you get in this box, in the Tarot 690S or the FY690S, is the center plate. Now I haven't even opened this, but I'll show you now how everything works as we go ahead. This is not an unboxing thing. And these are parts for both the landing gear as well as the carriage underneath, on which the mounting rail. You get your 6 arms. 4 of them are black. This one isn't even, let's just take this one out. Now 4 of them are black and 2 of them are red. Let me just dump all of that out. Okay, obviously the 2 red ones are going to go at the front. We get some paper stickers that, if you want to emblazon tarot for advertising all over your, I'm just going to keep that on one side. If you want to put that on your frame, you're more than welcome. A small packet of screws, which are, I am assuming, because they were in this packet for the arms, I'm going to keep that one side for now. Okay, then we get these. I must note there are 2 arms. These 2 arms, oh, there's a staple. Let me just dump that one side. 2 arms have none of these connectors at the top. Now these do appear to be fairly straight for now, meaning this seems to be level with that, but that we can adjust later should it be needed. And they've already been assembled. Now what I like to do with these is, I'm going to later show you how I turn all of this loose and I add tape to that just to strengthen the grip on that whole thing, but we'll decide whether that is required or not, and we may even add it to this side. Okay, but these 2 arms do not have that. These are the 2 arms which go on the sides, but we'll get to that in due time, due course. Right, let's just take these arms, let's just take everything out of the packaging and just get rid of the packaging, one side with everything. And we can arrange things in such a manner that we can see what is going on. This is the landing gear. Yeah, it's pretty well sealed. It's just staples. Okay, dump that out. And okay, that packet is empty. Dump that one side. And as you can see here, you also have some parts which are semi-assembled. Now this is going to hook onto the top, and these legs can actually be folded up, and you can see there's this expansion clip. Now this is going to be a lot easier. I'm not going. Oh, let's see. Now I'm not going to be able to unclip it now, but once it's on the leg, obviously you can pull it up. Right. So we've got those 2, and we've got the inside parts thereof as well, the matching parts. Now you will note that on top, yeah, you have this. This is on the outside. It's probably going to fit. Let me just see where those holes are. Yes, it's going to fit around there, and that actually needs to be on the inside. But we'll get there and show you how that works. From what I've been able to figure from studying the instructions, the meager instructions. Right, so we have those components. I'm not going to take those out because they're small. I don't want them to roll away. I'm going to get a little holder in which I'm going to place them just now. For now, one side. Those screws, one side. These are parts, it's rubbers and some additional mounting rings for your rail at the bottom, which is all part of this, which I'm not going to take out of the packaging for now. I'm going to put that one side until we are almost finished assembling the frame. All the screws and all the small things. Now, what we have here, let me just take this out. Right, those two are the wrong way around. You'll see these are pretty much identical. What I must say, it's actually fairly impressive. The carbon fiber and the drilling and the machining on this thing is fairly clean. There's no marking, no scuffing, no ridges, and the holes go through pretty good. Well, let's just get a little closer, bit of a closer view. And if I just get it turned correctly, you'll be able to actually see the holes through. And they all match up pretty well. The alignment is good. I love that. Alright, so we get those. There are obviously 6 of those. And those are the mounting plates for your motors. So you're going to mount your motor onto that. And that then mounts like that into your arm. Your cables are going to go through there. Your motor gets mounted onto there. Depending on the type of motor you're going to mount, in all probability, they've tried to match as many types of motors as possible onto there. Hoping that you can slide your cables through there, but not always. But let's see if we're lucky with the type of motors I got. I'm not going to try and list the spares parts and everything, but let's get a closer view of that. And there you can see that matches up pretty well, and we are going to use that, and your motor wires go through there, through the arm, exits on that side. Right, that being said, let's just pack all these up. So we're not going to use them right now. Now, in my case, what I'm going to do once I have everything ready is mount my motors onto these arms and then mount the arms onto the frame, because I am going to try and get my cables and my wires for my motors through these little holes. Now let's just take a little closer look onto that. If you look through there, obviously you can see that there's not a lot of space to get that through there. Right, but anyway, that's going to be a problem for later. Put the arms one side. Okay, let's open up our main carriage. Pull that out. Pull out those supports. Further, the packaging is empty. Right, and here is the main support and a lifting base here, which you can either use for flight controller mounting or battery mounting. Now most people mount their flight controller here at the bottom and then use this for the battery. Alternatively, you can mount everything on here, the flight controller and receivers on the side, etc., and use the rail to add a battery, but that's all up to you. Okay, let me just open this all up. There's nothing loose or anything in there. They've already semi-assembled this little raised center part, and we'll see how we are going to attach our ESC power distribution board, whether I put it at the bottom or on the top. Probably I'm going to keep my power distribution board as part of the bottom, because I'm planning to put my ESCs at part of the bottom plate. Okay, now these are just some center spaces. Let's call them center spaces or standoffs. They seem to be aluminum or aluminium, depending on where you are in the world. and these will be fitted through here at various spots, one there, one there, one there, etc., to just raise this above the board slightly. But we'll figure out exactly that spacing when we get there. An important thing we have to remember when we work with metal on metal screws is that we have to use a thread locker. Now here I have Win's thread locker, and this is a South African product, but I'm sure wherever you are in the world you are going to get something similar, Loctite, etc. Remember, this is a removable. Make sure that the thread locker that you get is removable. We know there's blue Loctite or red Loctite. Blue Loctite is removable, red is not. You are going to break screws. Right, and the first thing I'm going to do is, I've got a little container here which I have pulled up a little there, and I'm going to use that just to hold onto my screws. Now, from what I understand from the instructions, this leg needs to go there, and because some of it is sub-assembled and there seems to be no way to get that little screw to screw through there. It just doesn't make sense, because I cannot fit a screwdriver through that little hole onto the bottom part, or my screwdriver doesn't fit. It's never going to reach. So I'm stuck with a option. My only option is to first remove these. I'm just going to drop the screws into there. Okay, I'm going to do these legs one at a time. I'm going to show you one leg, and I'll probably speed up the second one, or just not show it at all, because if you've seen one leg, they're both the same. Right, so that's that part for the leg which needs to go in that side. And this little thing, now there, those screws are even tinier. Hold on, let me see. This is a 2 millimeter. Okay, and here we have a 1.5. Right, so those little screws on the side are 1.5 millimeter. Fit those there. Come on, release. Okay, we'll drop them in there. Right, now we have that little arm mount there. It's not tightened. I'm going to release that. It's fairly long. Let me just check that it is 1.5 millimeter. Yes, it's 1.5 millimeter. Now, the way I figured how I am going to get it mounted there is to, let's just test my theory first before I go ahead. Now, obviously, this is the bottom of my plate. This is the top, and this needs to go at the bottom because that's going to be part of the landing gear. Right, there we have that little screw through there. It's just sticking out. Now, what we need to do first is just give it a dab of thread locker. Now really, you don't need all this stuff. You just need to color it. And that might be a little too little. There you go. You know, it's not a lot, and I've seen people put way stacks too much of the stuff on there. You really do not need a lot of the stuff. A little goes a long way, and it's pretty sticky. Right, so that's the way I figured I am going to get this mounted. I'm going to turn it until it's pretty tight. Oh, and there we go. So that is good for me. That is a part of the leg which is not going to release easily. Now, before I just go ahead and mount this leg onto that, because that's actually going to squeeze in there now. There we go. That's how it's going to work. Now, obviously, before I do that, I just want to make sure that this little piece, I want this to be mounted in there as well, but I think I want to do both sides. I don't want to do just one side. So yeah, I'm going to keep this one to the right hand side, and I'm going to disassemble this leg as well, and I'm going to keep this one to the left. Just put a tiny dab. That is all you need, guys. Really, it doesn't look like anything, but please, that is all you need. You don't need a lot of this stuff. I don't know about other products, but the South African Winds product, you need very, very little of. I'm just going to try and get that one away. And whether it's good, bad, better, not, I don't care. I know this product, I know how it reacts, and this stuff works for me. So yeah, that's just me. Right, I've got those two little stubs, supports, whatever you want to call them, mounted. I'm happy with those. Now that I've pretty much figured out how this works, I've already done this side. This is the side into which those additional arms are going to go, which do not have the ends on them. And I'm going to show you how I got that side working by doing this side, because it's not as simple as one might think, and it actually had me quite thinking a little bit just to get this thing working. Okay, now to get this working, the first thing we need to do is loosen these screws at the end. You need the 2mm hex. I'm going to put it on that side. 2-3 turns. Right, 2-3-4 turns. Now you can actually split that plate slightly. Now that is quite important, because you want to fit these holders which hold on to the end of the pole on the inside, and trying to squeeze them in there, if that is all tightened up, does not work. Now this is metal on metal, so obviously you've got to remember that we are going to use a thread locker. It's quite tricky getting this in there, and the only way I've been able to figure to do this is by getting the bottom part in there first. Let's just drop that in there a little, and then I'll show you. I'm going to align that a little with I, and then use one of the screws from the bottom, push that through, not all the way, and get that first spacer or grip or mounting, or whatever you want to call it, just to hold on to that first screw. You can push it in until you don't want it actually protruding from the top part, and there you go. That's the first one. And now you put in a second screw. Right, now you got something for that first one to hold on to. Trying to put both in at the same time is virtually impossible. Another thing you'll notice, I'm just going to try and bring this closer to the camera, is that these holders or standoffs on the one side have a recess. Which side you decide to use is, I suppose, up to you. And this side has a recess and this side does not. This side, I've just decided to keep the recess to the outside. Okay, now you take your second one and you bring it in there. And this is tricky as hell. And hold on. You're gonna, I suppose there might actually be an easier way to do this, but you know what? I tried a couple of things, and if someone comes up with an easier way to do this, by all means, please let me know for my next one. And that's it. I align it and I push the screw through, and I align it and I push the screw through, and there we have it. I've got both screws pushed through. Right, now that I have both screws pushed through, I am going to apply just a tad of thread locker. I'm still using my Wins thread locker. There's only 7 grams of thread locker in this whole holder, which shows you how little you need. You need just a dab. This stuff is like, it forms like a silicone base, and it actually holds on pretty tight. And what I've found from previous builds and quadcopters, etc., you can unscrew it and re-screw it into that same screw, and it actually stays there. So you can actually unscrew and screw quite a couple of times before it'll actually give up. But I always suggest just apply a tad every time. These little nut locks have the name Tarot on it, and it's your choice whether you want it on the inside or the outside. Doesn't really matter. In my case, I'm keeping them to the inside. You're not going to see this because I need to screw it from this side. And yeah, but just so that you see what it looks like, I suppose I'll turn it around once I've pulled it in, just so the threads. Right. And there you go. I'm actually not going to pull this tight all the way, because I have my Wins thread locker, and I know that it doesn't solidify into a hard piece of junk like red Loctite, which I've just heard of. I've never actually used it myself, but I've heard people actually breaking screws because they use red Loctite. And I've used this stuff a couple of times, the blue Wins thread locker, and it's great. You can unscrew a couple of times and it doesn't give up. Right, so that's that one. Now the next one, the outside one, is this one with a little well, shall we call it a standoff? And the standoff is where your landing gear is going to attach to. So that's going to go on there, and the landing gear is going to attach to that. Right, now again, just to make my life easier, I'm going to first mount the bottom one. Right, that's just gripping. Right, and the next one, finger through there. Right, so the bottom part is attached. Make sure those don't push through all the way. I'm going to take my top part, I'm going to push that in there and try and keep it in place. Hold on. And this is why you loosen these screws a little bit, so you can actually pull these apart to get these in here. Right, I've pushed that one through a little too much. Alright. Okay, so there we go, that one's through. Next one, all through. There you go. I've got them both pushed through all the way, and got a little nut lock. Add our thread locker, just a tiny dab. it's actually a little too much. You can actually use way less than I've put on here for those interested. It's just a tiny tad bit. There you go. I just want to confirm my name to the inside. I suppose you can keep it on any side, it's up to you. And the 2mm hex, I'm going to pull that down. I'm not going to tighten it because I still need to add the arms. And if you tighten it all the way down, you're going to have hell trying to attach the arms. Right. Just see if that one grips. Yes, it grips. Right onto the board. And just loosen slightly. Onto the board. Loosen slightly. Okay. And there you go. We've got that ready. And these are going to be the arms without the head pieces, which are going to fit in there. Now, because these are loose, these should be able to push in. Oh, there you go. That goes in quite nicely. And there's actually a measurement in the manual which gives you the distance that we are going to measure here. I'm not going to give that right now because the arms I'm going to be mounting at a later stage. That arm fits through there. Right, so that is how those two arms will fit there. And obviously you will be angling these and making sure they are level. But yeah, that is going to be our next process.